Now, I've been following politics for a while, and even I'm 100% astounded at the reaction from the media and the Republicans, and even some Democrats about the peace deal with Iran. Because, I naively thought that some things are above politics, like a unilateral peace deal that stabilizes the world, protects from nuclear war, and opens up a new relationship. But no, I was wrong. This apparently is still in the realm of politics. Listen to this parade of idiots come out against peace.
We're dealing with Iran. They are one of the top supporters of terrorism around the world. This is providing them resources and money, and we should not take this lightly.
There's an anxious Democratic and Republican base that wants to move forward with sanctions despite this deal.
We have just rewarded very bad and dangerous behavior.
This agreement has made the world a much more dangerous place.
And they were saying, well, this might be a diversionary tactic by the administration, which is desperately looking for good news.
Don't you think it's a little curious? Some of my friends were talking over the weekend. Oh, isn't that curious timing?
I think you're going to see on Capitol Hill again a bipartisan effort to try to make sure that this is not the final agreement.
Bipartisan opposition in Congress, very strong bipartisan opposition to the deal. Our Arab League partners don't like the deal. Israel doesn't like the deal. And we may have just encouraged more violence in the future than we have stopped.
I've concluded that there is a large number, there's a large group of people in the United States that wants war with Iran no matter what. And maybe some people are dumb enough to think Iran is actually a threat, so they fall for it. But a lot of the people who want a war, I think they want it for the typical imperial reasons. The same reason that we wanted to take over the region in 1953 when we overthrew their democratic government and propped up a dictator who helped our interests. I think they want it for control of a vital region in the world, in the Middle East. I think they want it to be able to keep tabs on other Middle Eastern countries that the U.S. thinks are a threat. And any of a number of reasons, whether it's the oil in the region, or whether it's vital control of the region, or whether it's classic imperial ambitions. And I say that because I can't fathom anybody actually being stupid enough to think that Iran is really a threat to the United States. Because this is the exact same playbook that they used with the war in Iraq. Remember? Oh my God, the media just wall-to-wall coverage of Saddam Hussein, evil guy, evil guy, evil guy, threat to the U.S., threat to the U.S., threat to the U.S., has weapons of mass destruction, has weapons of mass destruction, has weapons of mass destruction. Now, he didn't have weapons of mass destruction, and he wasn't a threat to the U.S. Now, he was an evil guy, but we're allies with a lot of evil guys. We look the other way while a lot of evil guys do genocide and rape and torture their own citizens. We have a lot of friends that are like that. Fuck, we actively put people like that in place in some regions of the world so we could have access to their natural resources and to their economy and things of that nature. So it's the same thing. They go, oh my God, these guys either have a nuke or they're getting a nuke. And here's the main point. The implication is that the second they get the nuke, there's no doubt that they'll use it immediately. That's what's inherent in the tone and what is implied in the tone of everybody across the media who's talking about this. And that is immensely dumb. Because if there's one thing history has shown us that is 100% not correct, if they get a nuke, I'll tell you what, 99.99999% would happen? They would use it for defense. Why? Because the U.S. overthrew their government in 1953. What, they think that the U.S. would never do that again? Of course they're scared of that. Look at what the U.S. did in Iraq. Look at what the the war in Afghanistan, which is going to go on for another 11 years, as we learned the other day. They have the best case for, defense out of everybody. Now, I get it. People are rightly concerned because there's, Islamic clerics there, and if you're uber religious and you're an extremist, you might be quicker to press the button than somebody who's not an extremist. But the thing is, the people of Iran, it's relatively secular as far as Middle Eastern countries go. And Hassan Rouhani isn't dumb enough. He realizes if he were to ever launch an attack against the U.S. or Israel, he'd be wiped off the map in a second. So they wouldn't do that. And so as part of this deal, we just went over this in the last segment, but again, as part of this deal, the IAEA is going to monitor Iran and make sure that when they enrich, they only enrich to 5% maximum. And of course, that's used for power for their grid, and they're allowed to do all that under international law. And they've agreed 100% that they will not try to get a nuke. They don't want a nuke, and they could have the UN and the IAEA come in there and test all they want, and they've given up. They've given up on that. They don't want it, right? But here you still have these morons going out there, the threat to world peace. Meanwhile, North Korea's out there doing fucking missile tests, talking tough and saying he'll attack the U.S., and everybody's sitting around,